crossed its mind. The big cat felt a surge of compassion, and its hesitant gaze suddenly transformed. Its golden vertical pupils became incredibly determined. Even if it meant dying on this battlefield, it could not take a step back. Behind it, in the protecting forest, there were nearly 10 million young magical beasts. If it chose to flee, who would they rely on? Big cat, let us unite. I have a way to save you magical beasts from death. Just then, a voice suddenly rang out from behind it. Chapter 289. Choice. Opening the battle pet Pan Yenduo was not lying. Not only the magical beasts, but even her barbarian warriors had the possibility of resurrection. However, to be reborn, they had to pay a price. And that price was losing their freedom. Being able to be reborn was certainly a good thing. But if it meant losing their freedom and obeying those human commanders, these freedom-loving barbarians were clearly unwilling to accept it. The barbarians did not want to take that step. Yet, the magical beasts before them might not feel the same. Therefore, Pan Yenduo revealed the battle mount and mercenary settings that Lin Fei had mentioned before. However, the big cat, which had been full of joy, suddenly flew into a rage after hearing Pan Yenduo's words, shouting, "You damn woman! How could you think of this? Don't dream. Even if all our magical beasts die in battle, we won't." The big cat was well aware of the settings Pan Yenduo spoke of, having been present when they were first discussed. Because of this clarity, it was strongly resistant to the idea of becoming a human's pet. However, before it could finish speaking, Pan Yenduo's words immediately silenced it. No one is forcing you. But do you think your kin can endure many more losses like this? At that time, what will you use to protect the sacred beast forest? The next generation? Without the protection of these magical beasts. Pan Yenduo shook her head. Their descendants were indeed concerning. Her words were not intended to persuade, but every word hit the big cat's chest like a hammer. It did not rebut because it understood that everything the other party said was an undeniable fact. Faced with the issue of racial survival, even the usually proud big cat had to lower its proud head. Looking at the silent big cat, Pan Yenduo chose not to say anything further. Instead, she unconsciously reached out to stroke its body. Such an opportunity to openly pet the big cat was rare, and even this barbarian leader could not resist the temptation. Feeling the large hand caressing her, the big cat's frowning face unconsciously revealed a look of enjoyment. However, it quickly realized something. The only person bold enough to do this openly was Lin Fei, and it never expected this bold woman beside it to be so daring. Damn it! This woman is taking advantage of my vulnerability. Before the big cat could unleash its fury, Pan Yenduo's voice rang out again. Duoyin City controls the signing ceremony. A threat, a blatant threat. Hearing Pan Yenduo's words, the big cat felt anger rise within. Yet, in the face of the racial issue, it had to swallow its pride and coldly huffed. Humph. This cat won't hold it against you. As if finding an excuse for itself, the big cat's face once again showed an expression of enjoyment. One person and one cat stood there, gazing at the tragic battlefield before them, each lost in their own thoughts. For a long time, Pan Yenduo finally turned around to face the barbarian players and the magical beasts behind her. We have won this war. However, the cost of victory was beyond our expectations. The retreat of the Black Dragon Legion is only temporary. I believe that when they return, it will be a calamity. Therefore, I need everyone to grow stronger. At this point, she instinctively glanced at the large cat beside her and said, from today onward, Duoyin City will open a battle pet center, where all new barbarian warriors can adopt their own battle pet. Fearing that the people in front of her did not know what a battle pet was, she tirelessly repeated what Lin Fei had said. In fact, there was no need for Pan Yenduo to explain in detail. The players already had a rough idea of what a battle pet was. The thought of owning a powerful mount or combat beast made them unable to contain their excitement, and they began to cheer loudly. Hearing the cheers ringing in the air and seeing the excitement of the barbarian warriors in front of her, the large cat felt somewhat uncomfortable. However, despite its feelings, it did not show any displeasure on the surface. It knew that if the magical beasts bonded with these people, they might lose their freedom. But compared to freedom, it was better than extinction. So, comforting itself, the large cat felt much better. With a roar, it led all the magical beasts away from the battlefield. Watching the large cat leave, Pan Yenduo did not stop it, and instead got busy with her own tasks. Although the Black Dragon Legion had retreated, it was only temporary. She believed those monsters would return at any moment. Therefore, it was necessary to establish a temporary observation outpost in this scorched, muddy, and foul-smelling border area. Looking towards the distant dark area shrouded in thick fog, Pan Yenduo announced the construction of watchtowers and fortifications at the edge. Soon, over 1 million players eagerly joined in. Under the guidance of experienced old barbarian architects, everything progressed smoothly. Pan Yenduo directly named the under-construction fortress the Southwest Fortress. As the war in Tianpu Plain temporarily came to an end, the reactions from netizens were incredibly strong. Many who had initially chosen not to change their class logged into their accounts to prepare to become barbarian warriors. Not for anyone else, but for one reason. Big. Really so big. However, when these people arrived at the class change center and heard what the NPC said, they were immediately dumbfounded. What? You say I can't change my class? How is that possible? Did you make a mistake? Who wouldn't be frustrated? My friend successfully changed classes earlier. Why is it that now they aren't even giving out class change credentials? A group of players who heard they could not change to barbarian warriors crowded in the lobby of the class change center, discussing animatedly. They never expected that just by waiting a little longer to change classes, the NPC would tell them there were no more slots. When class changes were first opened, it was never mentioned that there would be a limit on slots. If they had known it would be like this, who would have bothered to observe? Now look what happened. The slots are all gone, so what's the point of transferring jobs? This group of online users, their recently sparked enthusiasm was instantly doused. Not only that, but they also felt it was so unfair. Yes, it's unfair. Why were their transfers allowed before, but now that it's their turn? It's not possible. It must be a problem with the system. Thinking of this, the users standing in the job transfer hall became even more agitated. They believed that if Lin Fei knew about this situation, he would definitely increase the transfer slots on the spot. However, no matter how much they caused a ruckus or acted irrationally, Lin Fei never showed up. The only one who appeared was a half-mechanical being, the leader of whom. A burly man with a dark expression looked at the chaotic players and shouted angrily. Who is causing trouble? Exile to the Black Domain. Chapter 290. Shocked. Box office reaches 1 million. If anything could shock these rowdy netizens at this moment, it would undoubtedly be the Dark Realm. Especially now, as these netizens learned from the live stream that the entire Black Dragon Legion was holed up in this Dark Realm. Being exiled there was, without a doubt, entering an infinite cycle of death. Just thinking about it sends chills down one's spine. They believed that this dark-faced man in front of them could definitely deliver on his threats. In an instant, the rowdy players quieted down, and some even attempted to sneak out of the class change hall while the guards were unprepared. However, they soon realized that the hall was already surrounded by the city guards. Seeing the cold, expressionless faces of the mechanical-bodied city guards, the netizens settled down completely. Some of the more timid ones even started trembling. This clearly showed the terrifying nature of being exiled to the Dark Realm. Fortunately, the dark-faced man was merely trying to scare them. Looking at the now subdued crowd, he spoke. The quota for class changes is regulated. This is an ironclad rule, and no one can break it. So please, put away your little schemes. Seeing the group in front of him, who dared not voice their anger, the dark-faced man felt a bit troubled. However, the commotion they were causing made his situation even more difficult. After thinking for a moment, he added, everyone, you should head back. Next time, please come for your class change earlier. After saying this, he stepped back with his subordinates to lean against the wall at the entrance of the class change hall. Standing there, he coldly observed the crowd and fell silent. At that moment, silence spoke louder than words. The dark-faced man not speaking did not mean he was indifferent. His icy gaze made everyone uneasy, and they immediately began to mumble and walk toward the exit. This was perhaps the only way they could vent their dissatisfaction. Beyond this, they found no other means. After all, being exiled to the Dark Realm was no laughing matter. Seeing the rowdy group leave, the dark-faced man couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After all, if they continued to make a scene, they wouldn't actually dare to exile everyone to the Dark Realm. At that point, it would just be a case of making an example of a few. However, even so, he would still face corresponding punishment afterward. This was not what he wanted to see. Now that the netizens had chosen to leave, it was better for both parties. However, what no one expected was that although the netizens left, posts began to emerge online. One post titled, Shocking, Game NPC Threatens Players. This game completely disregards players' humanity quickly rose to popularity. In this day and age, posts criticizing games were not uncommon. Such a title quickly attracted countless netizens. Upon seeing the complaints about being unable to change classes, netizens quickly began to respond. Instantly, the replies split into two camps. One group consisted of those wanting to change classes, but unable to. The other group was, of course, those who had already changed classes to become barbarian warriors. Two forces have stirred up the comment section of this post. Especially those who have successfully changed their roles, immediately switched to mocking mode, filling the comment area with all sorts of sarcastic replies, taking up more than half of it. Sigh. There's nothing I can do. My son was too quick to change my role. Actually, there's not much meaning in being a barbarian. Indeed, there's really nothing to it, aside from the beautiful scenery. There's no high-tech stuff to see in the mechanical city. Isn't that right? I just got a beast from the Battle Pet Center, and it turns out to be an adult. Riding it feels a bit bumpy. Honestly, I'm also quite troubled about becoming a barbarian. It used to be 18 centimeters, and now it's almost half a meter, really heavy. Right. It used to be 2 kilograms, and now I must weigh around 10 kilograms. It's quite heavy. Just look at the comment section. Are they even speaking human language? It makes those who haven't changed roles feel really upset. So jealous. Half a meter long. Who wouldn't he want that? 10 kilograms heavy. Who wouldn't he want to touch it? But at this moment, everything can only be looked up to. There's nothing they can do. They missed their chance to grow. However, just as the entire comment section was enveloped in sarcasm, another article caught the attention of many netizens. Shocking, the first day box office of 9 provinces exceeded 1 million. In today's society, a movie's first day box office, not to mention a million, even 10 billion or 20 billion would be considered at the bottom. Some confused individuals immediately raised questions. Are they selling oil cakes? How can a movie with just 1 million even dare to say that? This must be the worst movie of the year. Luckily, I didn't see the poster in the cinema, or I would have dodged a bullet. Haha, this first day figure is definitely a historical low. I bet the director and investors are losing their shirts. Seeing these confused comments from netizens, some informed individuals quickly responded, with no mercy, slapping them in the face. Ridiculous. You bunch of fools. Do you even understand anything? Do you know what this data means? The guy upstairs is right. Someone downstairs, quickly educate these clueless individuals. Alright, listen up, everyone. This million figure was compiled by netizens in the group. And this million is actually a conservative estimate. Haha, that is hilarious. A conservative estimate. Even if it's 1 million, you're still losing money. Fools, don't interrupt. If you don't understand, just stay quiet. You unknowledgeable people. Do you know how many cinemas this million represents? Do you know how many screenings there were and how much time it had? Knowing nothing, yet you're here blabbering. Open your eyes and take a look. Screenshot. Do you see this? This is the data, you fools. 9 provinces was only released in 10 cinemas nationwide. And they're all in small counties. Moreover, the screening time was at 8 in the evening, and the data cutoff was the next day at noon. Strictly speaking, this data is for less than 24 hours. Ridiculous. Are you trying to fool me? In a small county town, 10 cinemas raked in 1 million in box office revenue in less than 24 hours. Are you looking down on me because I haven't been to school? Damn, I just checked, and it seems that this data is actually real. Moreover, the statistics above are only underreported. What is this? Is it true? What kind of extraordinary movie is this? Who knows what it is? I just want to see it now. Wow, DreamWorks? What kind of production company is that? I've never heard of it. Come on, man, look at the director. It's directed by the legendary McGee. Is that for real? No way. I'm shocked. DreamWorks is actually a subsidiary of a certain gaming giant. Chapter 291. After all, I've slept with her. DreamWorks, as a subsidiary of a gaming empire, is not a secret in the industry. However, for those netizens who are still unaware of the situation, this is completely new. A gaming company is now branching out into films. Even if some celebrities cross over to directing, only a few succeed. But a gaming company crossing into film? Isn't that a bit too ambitious? At this moment, Lin Fei has no idea what the netizens are thinking. Even if he knew, he wouldn't respond. He feels quite helpless about his crossover into the film industry. If there's anything to blame, it's that the promotional video he made was too good. So much so that it left Komaki and the editor with no way to proceed with the entire trailer. Meanwhile, Komaki is also troubled. In the past, he had created myths with box office figures, not to mention millions, but even billions. Of course, in today's market, that billion would have to be multiplied by at least 5. However, this million box office is indeed quite daunting for him. Even the phone lines at DreamWorks have been bombarded by domestic and international theaters. The contacts from these theaters, who previously held a high and mighty attitude, are now polite and complimentary as soon as the call connects. Yet they don't mention anything about the film distribution rights. This has left Komaki, who grew up in the West, somewhat unadapted. However, after spending a long time in the region, he has come to understand certain phrases. The saying, "Don't strike a smiling face," has become very clear to him. For those theaters calling to congratulate him, Komaki couldn't be bothered to respond one by one and directly handed the matters over to Su Sinyu at Sinyu Film Industry, as Lin Fei suggested. As a smart person, how could Komaki not see through the subtleties? This was an opportunity to please a future boss while making things easier for himself. Why not take it? Overnight, he went from an unknown film company in the region to a hot topic among netizens nationwide. Su Sinyu felt extremely anxious. Thinking back to how she had built her career from scratch to her current achievements felt like a dream. She never expected that the phrase rising to fame overnight was not just a lie. The thought of her muddled relationship with Lin Fei made her feel utterly absurd. After returning last time, all her efforts had been focused on coordinating with Lin Fei, while she didn't even dare to make a phone call or answer one. She didn't know what identity she should use to face Lin Fei. A partner? A girlfriend? Or a lover? In any case, she was quite conflicted. However, at this moment, all her conflicts were overshadowed by the shocking data in front of her. For someone like her, who kept a distance from large corporations and operated a cinema in a small city, despite having a decent business, the reality was that after deducting various expenses, she was not much better off than a regular worker. In the end, she might even earn less than what the company could support. They say the more you buy, the bigger it gets, but the money keeps getting less. She truly understands this saying. However, everything has changed now. Overnight, she became a millionaire. It's unbelievable. I can't take it anymore. I'm exhausted. Just then, the office door was suddenly pushed open, and a tall beauty in a fluorescent yellow vest walked in. She approached the desk and unceremoniously plopped down in the chair, frowning as she complained, "This is truly the life of a worker. The boss has connections now, and doesn't he care about the employees below? All the responsibilities fall on me alone. Isn't that infuriating?" Listening to her friend's sarcastic remarks, Su Xinyu felt a twinge of guilt. Ever since returning from Lin Fei's place last time, she had been distracted, as if she had lost something. As a minor shareholder of Xinyu Film Industry, her friend was now in charge and keeping the company running. Business had been average before, but now it exploded overnight, with extra midnight shows added, leaving her overwhelmed. She had just caught up on some sleep, only to find her friend dazed and staring, which made her furious. It was just a first-time experience. Was it really necessary to react this way? They wouldn't go through it again. However, clearly, the two of them were not thinking about the same thing. Su Xinyu instinctively avoided personal issues and glanced at the data on the desk, exclaiming, "That guy is really impressive." As soon as she finished speaking, she noticed her friend's strange expression. Looking up, she saw her friend looking at her with a peculiar, slightly disdainful look. Oh no. Realizing she had misspoken, Su Xinyu instinctively wanted to explain. But before she could, her friend Yang Tao spoke first. "I mean, sis, whether he's impressive or not, I haven't experienced it myself, so why bring it up with me?" She then added, almost as if to vent, "Maybe I should give it a try someday." "You wouldn't dare," Su Xinyu instinctively replied, then realized she had overreacted and quickly added, "If you want to, you can go and negotiate with him tomorrow." After saying that, Su Xinyu felt a bit regretful. She knew her friend too well. If she really went, who knows what would happen? During college, they were all in the same class, and back then, this girl had her eyes on Lin Fei. No, it wasn't just her. Half the girls in their class had thoughts about Lin Fei. But at that time, Lin Fei was always quiet and rarely interacted with classmates. Now, no one could have predicted that this reserved guy would actually rise up. Look at that. Once someone becomes an adult, they always say things that don't match their true feelings. If I had gone myself, some people would probably be too distracted to eat or sleep. Seeing the expression on Su Xinyu's face, Yang Tao knew exactly what she was thinking. After teasing her with a sarcastic remark, she said, "Don't worry. I'm not at that desperate point yet. I'll go with you tomorrow." Hearing Yang Tao's words, Su Xinyu's anxious heart eased a bit. She felt reassured by Yang Tao's promise. But what about Lin Fei? Sigh. What is love? It only makes one's heart feel chaotic. Looking at Su Xinyu's worried expression, Yang Tao said impatiently, "Sister, can you be a bit more ambitious? It's just a man. What is there to be worried about? As the saying goes, if he doesn't cherish you, it's his lack of vision." Originally, this comforting statement seemed somewhat reasonable, but unexpectedly, Yang Tao's next words left everyone speechless. If you've lost him, there's no need to be sad. After all, I've had my turn. Chapter 292. This gift is too expensive. I dare not go out. Yang Tao. In a restaurant in the center of the Magic City, Lin Fei hurriedly arrived. When he saw the beautiful woman sitting at the same table as Su Xinyu, he was momentarily stunned. You both came together? He never expected to encounter another class flower from their class back in the day. However, judging by the way the other party was dressed, it was clear she was much more charming than Su Xinyu. This indicates that this former class flower must have been through a lot in society over the years. However, Su Xinyu's response was something he never anticipated. Hee, I forgot to mention last time, Yang Tao is a shareholder of Xinyu Film Industry. Back in the day, Seeing Su Xinyu reporting like she was to a leader, looking quite restrained, Yang Tao couldn't stand it anymore and stood up to interrupt. Back then, I saw her thriving in her business, and since I had some spare money at home, I decided to invest and buy a piece of social security. As she spoke, she walked in front of Lin Fei and extended her hand, saying, "Here, since Su mentioned last time that you wanted to invest in our company as a shareholder, how could I not meet you, the big boss?" Yang Tao was completely at ease, and the two shook hands with smiles. Lin Fei then sat down in front of the two. From their conversation, Lin Fei could tell that Yang Tao was far more sophisticated than that silly girl Su Xinyu. It was also evident that the success of Xinyu Film Industry today was closely related to this woman. He never expected that by simply planning to support Su Xinyu, he would stumble upon such a gem. If he didn't make good use of this person, it would be a disservice to their friendship as classmates. With this in mind, Lin Fei decided to get straight to the point and asked Yang Tao, "Are you interested in coming to work with me?" As soon as the words left his mouth, the atmosphere at the table instantly froze. Both women widened their eyes, staring at Lin Fei. Seeing their expressions, Lin Fei immediately realized he had misspoken and quickly added, "Come to my company. I'm just in need of a head for the business department. The resort in Player Kingdom has already started construction, and since plans are in place, the entire player kingdom can no longer be like the makeshift team it used to be. Moreover, almost all the work has been piled on Lin Luo, who has complained more than once or twice. Now, with a ready-made talent right in front of him, how could he let this opportunity slip by? Upon hearing his words, the two women still looked stunned. Yang Tao didn't expect that this quiet and reserved handsome guy from school would invite her right away upon meeting. Meanwhile, Su Xinyu was even more surprised that someone would try to poach her colleague right in front of her, and this person had an unclear relationship with her. Thinking of this, she immediately felt annoyed and pouted her lips. Her displeasure was clearly written on her face. Sitting across from her, Lin Fei could easily see this and smiled wryly as he took out a gift he had prepared in advance. Ever since he arrived in this world, he had never had a girlfriend. But that didn't mean he lacked romantic experience. Some time ago, I was busy with issues related to the estate, and now, taking advantage of this meeting, I want to clarify the relationship between the two of them. After all, he's not the type to be heartless. Wow, I previously thought that being with you would be great. Your sudden display of affection really opened my eyes. Looking at the car keys and a jewelry gift box that Lin Fei pulled out of his pocket, Yang Tao, who had just felt secretly pleased, suddenly felt a pang of jealousy. Serves you right. On the other hand, Su Xinyu became quite pleased. However, when it came to the gift Lin Fei pushed towards her, she didn't take it but instead said, I can't accept this. It's too expensive. The car keys, although she didn't know the model, she recognized the logo. As for the jewelry in the gift box, she did have some yearning for it, but having never received a gift from a male before made her feel reserved. He chuckled, saying, I don't know what you like, so I chose these myself. He added, as a man, it's only natural to give gifts to your girlfriend. Oh my. Su Xinyu never expected Lin Fei would clarify their relationship in front of her best friend. She suddenly felt like a rabbit had kicked her in the heart, showing a mix of shyness and embarrassment. Yang Tao, seeing her best friend's shy demeanor, felt quite happy. But her personality made it hard for her to tolerate this delicate display. Moreover, these two didn't seem to take her seriously. What is up with this public display of affection? Yang Tao exclaimed angrily. I said you two have had enough. Saying this, she snatched the gift from the table, shoved the jewelry box into Su Xinyu's arms, and played with the car keys, declaring, as the injured party, I've decided to drive this car for 6 months. Despite Yang Tao's carefree demeanor and lack of attention to detail, she genuinely had no words to say about Su Xinyu. On the surface, Su Xinyu seemed soft and weak, but her thoughts were quite delicate. When the two of them started their business, the company faced several crises and harassment from outsiders. Eventually, the storms passed. All these events had Yang Tao's influence behind them. Therefore, Su Xinyu had never considered her friend, who treated her like family, as an outsider. However, the car keys in her hand truly left her at a loss. She immediately said, Taozi, don't make a fuss. If you want to drive a new car, let us go buy one later. This car she intended to say that the car was too expensive and wanted Yang Tao to return the keys. But when she opened the jewelry box and saw the contents, she was completely stunned. She felt a rush of blood to her head, and in an instant, her brain lost the ability to think. Hearing her friend's words, Yang Tao, whose expression had turned unwilling, instinctively turned to look. Her displeased eyes widened like lanterns, and her previously closed mouth opened wide enough to swallow an egg. No way. Lin Fei, have you lost your mind? You actually bought this for her? As a woman, especially a refined one, she should have some understanding of luxury items in this world. Of course, whether to buy it or not is another matter. However, neither of them expected that in reality, someone would actually gift such an item, and it was one of them. Looking at the gemstones embedded in the pendant and the exquisite craftsmanship, they both completely lost their ability to speak. After a while, it was Su Xinyu who, resisting the immense temptation, pushed the gift towards Lin Fei. Lin Fei was giving her a gift, and she couldn't refuse. But this gift was too precious. Lin Fei, I can't accept this gift. And if I have something like this at home, I probably won't be able to sleep at night. At this point, Yang Tao also came to her senses, marveling at Lin Fei's generosity while chiming in, yes. If you give this to her, I'm afraid she won't even dare to go outside anymore. She'll have to stay home guarding this thing every day. Chapter 293, The Replica of Lin Luo. Let's have a drink. For a young woman, receiving a gift from someone of the opposite sex, especially one with whom she has a relationship, is indeed a delightful experience. However, if that gift is worth millions, it becomes something one would hesitate to accept. Looking at the exquisite jewelry that once appeared at an international exhibition, the two women were completely stunned. After a long pause, Yang Tao rubbed her eyes in disbelief and tentatively asked, Lin Fei, this can't be real, can it? I remember this was supposedly bought by a wealthy businessman from abroad for his collection. Quickly tell me, this is a fake, right? Although she repeatedly insisted that what was in front of her was a counterfeit, she knew deep down that Lin Fei, given his current status, wouldn't use a fake to deceive Su Xinyu. But if she were to believe that this item was real, she found it hard to accept. After all, this wasn't something that could just be bought with money. However, Lin Fei's response settled her restless heart completely. Honestly, I don't know if it's real or fake. Lin Fei smiled and explained, this piece belongs to an old friend of Kamaki. I thought it would suit Su Su very well, so I. Before Lin Fei could finish his sentence, Su Xinyu, who had regained her composure, quickly interjected, but this is way too expensive. I can't possibly wear it. Hearing this, Lin Fei glanced at the necklace embedded with a blue gemstone and said nonchalantly, is it? I think it's fine. After all, how many people can recognize it just by looking at it around your neck? Though he said that, who would wear a world-famous luxury item without a reason? Just thinking about wearing something so precious made Su Xinyu feel uneasy. Seeing her indecisiveness, Lin Fei stood up, walked behind her, and without hesitation took out the necklace and put it around her neck. Su Xinyu didn't expect Lin Fei to be so sudden. With Yang Tao still sitting nearby, she felt both embarrassed and secretly pleased. However, the thought of the necklace around her neck made her feel uneasy again. In that moment, her emotions were a mix of conflicting feelings. It was clear that Lin Fei noticed Su Xinyu's mood. Not returning to his seat, he smiled and said, don't worry about wearing it. Then, his expression turned serious as he promised, in this world, no one dares to touch someone who belongs to me. Initially lost in her anxiety, Su Xinyu was taken aback by his sudden domineering statement. Her entire face instantly flushed with a deep red. Between her teeth, she said with displeasure, who belongs to you? Lin Fei was momentarily stunned. His previous remark was not meant in the way she interpreted. However, upon reflection, he thought, isn't she indeed his woman? With that realization, he felt more at ease. Yet, in the midst of this atmosphere, neither of them noticed Yang Tao sitting nearby, who was being fed a whole lot of dog food and had a darkened expression on her face. Are you two really treating me like air? As she spoke, she stubbornly picked up the car keys again and declared, no way, as compensation, I want to drive this car for a year. Upon hearing Yang Tao's words, Lin Fei and his companion realized they might have gone a bit too far. As long as Su Xinyu didn't mind Yang Tao driving the car, what objection could he have? He immediately said, sure, don't mention a year. As long as my Su Su is willing, 10 years is not a problem. With that, Lin Fei turned to Zhang Liang, who was not far from him, and waved his hand. Seeing this, Zhang Liang quickly approached. Without waiting for any questions, Lin Fei instructed, have the car I prepared brought over so that Yang Tao can drive it back later. Hearing this, Yang Tao, still holding the car keys, suddenly felt a pang of disappointment. They had come together, but now she would be going back alone. Anyone could guess what would happen next. The thought of coming to enjoy a moment of happiness only to leave in embarrassment made her feel that even the luxury car in her hand was no longer appealing. Without hesitation, she raised her hand to object. No way, we came here together, we have to leave together. However, noticing Zhang Liang standing nearby, her eyes lit up, and she quickly changed her tone. No, we made a special trip, you have to treat us well. Su Xinyu, who initially wanted to persuade Yang Tao not to make a fuss, suddenly understood when she saw the look in Yang Tao's eyes. Following her gaze to Zhang Liang, it all became clear. As her close friend, Su Xinyu knew exactly what kind of person Yang Tao was. Her friend only showed this kind of expression when she had her sights set on someone. Realizing this, she glanced at Zhang Liang, recognizing that he indeed matched her friend's standards. However, it seemed like Lin Fei was somehow facilitating this. In this life, Lin Fei had never dated anyone, but that didn't mean he was clueless. Yang Tao's interest in Zhang Liang was as obvious as day. Even a fool could see that the girl had her eyes on the young man. But knowing this didn't mean Lin Fei wanted to get involved, especially since he was still quite confused himself. Alright, I'll contact them right away. Zhang Liang was also startled by Yang Tao's bold gaze and instinctively looked for an excuse to leave. However, he completely underestimated how friendly this woman could be. Seeing Zhang Liang about to walk away, Yang Tao hurriedly asked Lin Fei, hey Lin Fei, aren't you going to introduce us? What am I supposed to introduce? Lin Fei thought to himself, rolling his eyes. However, seeing Yang Tao's determined demeanor, he could only introduce Zhang Liang, my friend, a soldier. At this moment, Lin Fei was as concise as possible in introducing Zhang Liang. He thought that would be the end of it. But to his surprise, when Yang Tao heard that Zhang Liang was a soldier, her eyes sparkled even more brightly. In fact, her gaze assessing Zhang Liang was even more overt than before. It looked as if she was about to devour Zhang Liang. Feeling the terrifying gaze that was more horrifying than a killing intent, Zhang Liang swore he had never been this afraid in his life. He even doubted that this woman's eyes could kill. However, at that moment, Yang Tao spoke again, saying something that left everyone in stitches. Zhang Liang, want to sit down and have a drink? Uffed. Su Xinyu, who had been nervous and had a dry mouth, was planning to take a sip of mineral water to moisten her throat. However, she was caught off guard by her friend's words and ended up spitting it out. She hurriedly wiped her mouth and whispered, Taozi. Hearing Su Xinyu's words, Yang Tao finally realized that they were not in a bar. But having said it, there was no way to take it back. She quickly